Hey everybody, I'm Ashra Eden, and I empower spiritually oriented CEOs, founders, and leaders to deepen their leadership, impact, and legacy. And I'm doing this one live from my backyard in Maui, Hawaii. So you're going to get some Hawaii with this YouTube. So, doing a somewhat depth teaching on non dual spirituality and how it applies to business and leadership has been on my mind and in my heart for quite some time, but I wasn't quite sure of how I wanted to present it or the bridge that I was creating until this morning I was working out or something and I had the aha moment. So here we are, and we're going to be unpacking how holding the concept of God without as well as the concept of God within together, despite the seeming paradox of that, is actually pivotal to accelerating your impact and leadership in business, whether you're in corporate or in the entrepreneurial world. So here we go. And if the computer shakes, I'm sorry, it's on my knee. So, in the spiritual world, we have two general camps, two general trains of thoughts. One of them is the idea or the concept that God is outside of ourselves. And the other one is the idea or the concept that God is within the self. And in the school or train of thought of God outside of self, there also tends to be a focus on one, the theme of love and light, and two, the theme of energetic ascent. You're pulling your energy up and out to talk to God who is in the heavens. And within that camp, obviously, falls Judaism, Christianity, work with Jesus, hence Jesus in the title, and a lot of other spiritual things like most of the law of attraction and absolutely work with things like Reiki and the violet flame. Now, in the camp of God within, number one, that tends to be a descending path, meaning that as God is seen within the self in certain traditions, the energy tends to get pulled down into the body um, instead of up and out. And it's a descent path, which I'll get into more in a moment. And within that, we have goddess worship in most cases, not in every case, but much of goddess worship, much of paganism, modern day witchcraft, aspects of Hinduism, yoga philosophy, and shamanism and indigenous culture, and many indigenous cultures, not all, but many indigenous cultures. So, energetically, the love and light, God the Father camp is all about spiritual ascent or reaching up to God. And the other camp is about spiritual descent or reaching down into the body, into the earth, into the emotions, and finding divinity in the form of God or goddess or, you know, a whole pantheon deep within. Now, here's the thing about this: the most spiritually integrative stance is to hold both positions as valid, despite the potential sense of paradox. Um, I'm going to say that again. And the most spiritually integrative stance is to hold both positions as valid, despite the potential sense of paradox or even the fact that that might challenge the religion you grew up with or your personal upbringing. And in fact, if you are a leader, um, absolutely, if you're a leader in the spiritual world, this is absolutely required. And why this is required specifically for other spiritual teachers, I probably won't get into today. But it's absolutely required if you're a leader in the spiritual world. And it's also required of you in terms of how you lead and your leadership skills and ability if you are a leader in corporate or in business. And that we will get into today. And here's the problem. Here's where there's a problem with this. The problem's not in embracing both. Most leadership teachings only focus on the ascent current, the God without. And even if leadership trainings aren't talking about God, like, if you get a corporate training and you're in corporate and they bring you a corporate trainer, they're not necessarily talking about God, but they're doing things like trying to fix your mindset. And that as a tool is up and out. So most leadership teachings and mindset trainings focus solely on the ascent pull of this, even if they do it indirectly, even if they're not talking about God, even if they're doing it another way. 9 times out of 10, they're only bringing the energy up and out, and that can create a lot of benefits. But for you as a leader, that can also create a lot of problems. Think about this. You have a business challenge or you have a challenge in corporate, and what happens? You get given mindset work. You get told to use the law of attraction. You get given high vibe tribe stuff. I don't know who was online in the business space in like 2015. How many things were basically named high vibe tribe? You pull up your teachings from church and God and Jesus and reach up and out to God. You bring up your religious indoctrination from Judaism and same, reach up and out to God. Or maybe if you're a spiritual teacher and not in corporate, but in a more spiritual sphere, you pull on something like a Reiki training or violet flame or white light. Now, all of these things are good and we want these teachings. They do have a lot of value. So I'm not saying that they're bad. I'm not saying they don't have value. They do have value. They have a lot of value. They can create rapid shifts in business, in leadership, and in emotions. They can create a lot of wins. They can be amazing tools to get out of rough spaces. But they can also be super problematic when they're used on their own and or when there's deeper emotional, spiritual issues under the surface that have not been addressed. Think about this. What happens when you embody these teachings on their own and then try to apply them to your leadership style and leadership skills, whether that's in corporate or in the entrepreneurial sphere? What happens when you embody and try to apply these teachings on their own, when you try to apply them to your own work as a spiritual mentor? What happens when you try to use these on their own in your own business as a coach and your mindset? What happens when you try to apply these on their own in your work in corporate and your leadership in corporate and your work with your team? What happens? You get the win, you get the hit, you get the better mindset, the better mood, you get the better communication, you get the ease in the workplace, you get transformations with your own clients if you're a coach, and then it falls apart. Why? You've only addressed one energetic element, not three. And there are three energetic elements to this puzzle, but we're really only talking about two today. The three elements are ascent, descent, and neutral. And today we're addressing ascent in terms of like love and light and God the Father and energy up and out, and descent in terms of descent into the body, descent into the emotions, and the dark goddess slash indigenous medicine. What you've been missing for the purposes of today is the descent element. And spiritually speaking, this shows up across the board in non-Abrahamic traditions, from earth-based religions to aspects of working with the divine feminine, from the dark goddess, Kali, Persephone, aspects of Hinduism and how Hinduism approaches the cyclical nature of reality, life, death, rebirth, and so on. Shamanism and ayahuasca ceremonies, other sacred feminine work, and the concept of soul retrieval. And there's many more, but you get the picture. For the purposes of this video and to keep this brief and direct, let's use the spiritual framework of the dark goddess as personified by Persephone. Very, very roughly defined, the dark goddess is she who goes to a spiritual or metaphorical death and returns, bearing gifts for the tribe. Now, think about Persephone for a moment. I don't know if you guys know the story, but Persephone was roughly abducted by Hades, forced into the underworld, forced to become queen of the underworld, and then rescued by her mother and brought back to the overworld. Now, when she got back to the overworld, part of what happened was she helped life to return to the overworld. She helped plants to flower and crops to bloom. The positive impact of doing this spiritual descent work, very loosely speaking, like Persephone, is huge. This is about bringing all parts of you to the table, particularly the parts of yourself you've been hiding, denying, repressing, or running away from out of fear and shame. These parts hold your greatest power, and power is actually what you truly need. Think of it like this: you're walking into a business negotiation, a big one. You're restructuring your entire team or getting rolling with a huge contract. Do you want to work into that conversation with half of yourself or all of yourself? Or you're launching a new company. You already have the strategy, but internally you can steer it with love and light, a hope and a prayer, or you can do that and also integrate all of your parts, the parts that have been to the underworld and have medicine, and from day one create a significant impact. Or you're facing personal emotional challenges, fear and terror, grief, anger, rage, shame. Do you want to pray to God, tell yourself it's okay, spout out an affirmation or three, and hope to magically ascend? Or do you want to hold your power and your light while also fixing what's broken on the inside? This is the power of non dual spirituality. This is the power of holding, the love and light current as true and valid and real, while also having the power, the courage, the tenacity to reach down into your body, to reach down into your depths, and to start to work with the spiritual current and energy of descent. So that's what I have for you today. That's what this YouTube is about. I'm going to post some links below this. For those of you who feel called, I'm going to pop in a link to book a coffee chat with me. That is for you if you are a CEO, founder, or leader who is already at least bare minimum 6 figures and is looking to deepen your leadership impact and legacy. So that's the coffee chat link I'll be popping in. And I will also be popping in a spiritual integration strategy session link. And that link is for any of you who want to jump into doing the actual work, who are ready to call back the parts that are lost on the inside and go on a sacred spiritual scavenger hunt so that you can have the impact you were always meant to make on the outside. I'll be putting both of the links below this. If you have questions, hit me up in the comments. Have a great day.